The Khadorans have found a burial site of an ancient, powerful artifact. A Menite spy within Khador High Command alerted the Protectorate. He feared what the Grey Lords could do with this relic. The Protectorate gathered a small strike force of Exemplars led by High Exemplar Gravis to secure and hold the dig site until reinforcements could arrive. The Khadorans sent the Great Bears of Gallowswood along with some Man-O-War Demo Corps and Kayazy Eliminators to protect the dig site. Both sides brought supplies, allowing them to draw an extra card when base to base with a supply box. Round 1. Khador has priority. A Man-O-War runs up to the stockpile, shaking the ground with his heavy suit of armor. Gravis runs towards the forest. A Kayazy Eliminator runs around the boulders, staying behind the dense fog. Exemplar Warder Elias Gade runs up into the forest, concealing himself in the trees. The War Dog runs up and gains concealment behind a tree. An Exemplar Errant runs up into the forest, joining Elias Gade. A Demo Corps member stomps up towards the middle of the table. An Exemplar runs towards the dig site. Kolsk runs up to the stockpile ahead of the rest of the Great Bears. The Exemplar Seneschal runs up to protect Gravis. The Eliminator runs up into the dense fog, using her knowledge of stealth to conceal herself. An Exemplar runs up into the woods, gaining concealment and waiting to strike out at the advancing Khadorans. Volkov runs up and goes base to base with Kolsk to form a wall of steel. An Errant runs up to the supply box to help out the Menite forces. Yarovich runs up with the rest of his unit and joins the impenetrable wall of steel. An Errant advances up to the tree and sets his sights on the Kayazy Eliminator. He gets close enough to see her concealed form in the dense fog. He needs an 11 to hit, and he discards a card to boost the attack. The bolt flies through the air, and rolling a 15, the bolt finds its mark. The steel bites into the leg of the Eliminator, doing damage at dice -2. And rolling an 8, she collapses to the ground and is wounded. A Man-O-War runs up to the stockpile and joins his unit. An Errant runs towards the dig site. Menoth has more models around the dig site and scores 1 point. Both sides draw an extra card from their stockpile. Round 2. Khador has priority. Kolsk charges forward. He swings his great axe at High Exemplar Gravis, needing a 4 to hit. Rolling a 10, the axe bites into the armor of the High Exemplar. Gravis is unyielding in his defense and takes damage at dice -6. Kolsk discards a card to gain an additional die on the charge. Rolling an 8, he decides to discard another card to re-roll damage and rolls a 16. The attack carves through the armor, doing 10 damage. Gravis takes an injury roll, and rolling a 5, he remains standing due to My Brother's Keeper. Kolsk swings his great axe at the Exemplar Seneschal, needing a 4 to hit. Rolling a 6, the axe hits the Elite Knight. It does damage at dice -6, and rolling a 6, the blade scratches across the surface of the Knight's armor. The Menite commander plays the battle plan Medical Supplies. All friendly models in the commander's command range gain tough for the rest of the round. An Exemplar Errant advances up into the dense fog. He then plunges his sword into the wounded Eliminator, killing her. The other Eliminator advances over to the Errant and slashes out with her Assassin's Blade. She needs a 5 to hit the Exemplar, and rolling a 5, the blade finds a gap in the armor, doing damage at dice -7. Rolling a 5, the blade sinks past the chainmail and does 1 point of damage due to anatomical precision. The Errant is wounded by the attack. The Kayazy strikes out with her other Assassin's Blade on the wounded Exemplar and kills him. The Exemplar Errant bursts out of the forest and charges the Man-O-War Demo Corps. He swings his sword, needing a 3 to hit. Rolling an 8, the Weapon Master's sword stabs into the heavy armor of the Khadoran, doing damage at dice -7. Rolling a 13, the blade sinks into the armor and does 6 damage to the soldier. A member of the Demo Corps unit charges at an Exemplar Errant with his Ice Maul. He swings it through the air, needing a 5 to hit. Rolling a 9, the maul crashes into the armor of the Knight with dice as damage. Rolling a 12, it crushes in the breastplate of the Knight, and he is tough and falls to the ground and is wounded. Elias Gade charges out of the woods to try and protect his fellow Errant and charges the Khadoran. He chooses not to fire off his assault shot, but stabs at the Demo Corps member with his bayonet. He needs a 3 to hit, and rolling a 9, the short blade stabs into the armor, doing damage at dice -7. Rolling a 12, he does 5 damage to the warrior. Elias swings with his second bayonet, and rolling an 8, the blade slashes into the Man-O-War. He discards a card to boost the damage, and the Weapon Master rolls a 13, wounding the Khadoran. The Khadoran commander plays the card Defiant Zeal. For the rest of the round, while completely within the commander's command range, friendly faction models gain +3 armor and cannot become stationary or knocked down. Yarovich sees a chance to slay the Exemplar Seneschal and charges towards the Elite Knight. The Knight is flanked by another Great Bear, so Yarovich needs a 2 to hit. Rolling a 7, his Great Axe cleaves into the armor of the Menite, doing damage at dice -4. Rolling a 19, the Seneschal is fatally wounded. He rolls for tough, but then discards a recovery card. Gravis' Brother's Keeper ability keeps the Seneschal on his feet. Yarovich uses Rapid Strikes and slashes out again at the Knight Exemplar Seneschal. He rolls a 5, and the Great Axe crashes into the Exemplar. Rolling a 9, the Knight tries to tough out the wound, and he stands back up due to Gravis being nearby. The Seneschal wants to exact revenge and strikes out at Yarovich with his Relic Blade. He needs a 5 to hit the Great Bear. The Weapon Master swings the blade, and rolling an 8, the sword cuts into the armor of the Great Bear. With Defiant Zeal and Kolsk helping him to provide a wall of steel, the attack does damage at dice -8. Rolling an 8, it does no damage, but he discards a card to re-roll the attack. Rolling an 11, it does 3 damage to Yarovich. The Seneschal is determined to slay the Great Bear and strikes out with his other Relic Blade. Rolling a 6, the sword cuts into the Khadoran, and rolling a 15, it slashes through the armor. The Great Bear is tough, but is wounded by the attack. The Seneschal makes a combo smite attack and sinks his sword into Yarovich, slaying the Great Bear. A Man-O-War swings his Ice Maul at the Errant that charged him, needing a 5 to hit. Rolling an 8, the Maul comes crashing into the Exemplar, getting a critical hit and freezing the Errant in place. The attack shatters the Exemplar, doing damage at straight dice. Rolling an 8, the Errant falls to the ground and is injured by the attack. An Exemplar Errant advances up to the wounded Demo Corps member and gives the Khadoran a swift death with his short sword. The War Dog advances up to Elias' aid and tries to bite the Exemplar Warder, needing a 6 to hit. Rolling a 9, its powerful jaws bite into the armor of Elias, doing damage at dice -5. He discards a boost card and rolls a 13. The bite cripples the Exemplar. Elias' aid remains standing due to Gravis' Brother's Keeper ability. Volkov charges the Seneschal, getting revenge for killing Yarovich. He gets a flank on the Knight and needs a 2 to hit. Rolling a 12, the Great Axe cuts into the Menite, doing damage at dice -5. Rolling a 15, the Seneschal tries to be tough, but is killed by the attack. He remains standing due to his inviolable resolve, but will die at the end of the round. The Demo Corps leader advances up to the wounded Errant and crushes him with his Ice Maul. Gravis gains a soul. Gravis activates and swings his flail Reverence, striking out at Kolsk. He needs a 5 to hit, and rolling a 10, the Weapon Master smashes his weapon into the wall of steel held by the Great Bears, doing damage at dice -8. He discards a card to boost the damage, and rolling a 14, he does 6 damage. Kolsk is injured by the attack. Gravis spends a soul and attacks Kolsk with Reverence once again, killing the Khadoran Great Bear. An Errant moves up to the Menite stockpile. An Errant runs up to the Khador stockpile. Menoth scores a point, and the Menite forces gain an extra card from their supply box. Round 3. The Exemplar Seneschal is killed, and Menoth wins priority. Gravis walks in closer to Volkov and swings Reverence at the Great Bear, needing a 5 to hit. Rolling a 5, the flail crashes into the unyielding Khadoran, doing damage at dice -5. Rolling a 13, the Weapon Master does 8 damage to Volkov. Gravis spends a soul and swings his flail again, but rolling a 3, he misses the Khadoran. Volkov activates and viciously attacks Gravis with his Great Axe. He needs a 4 to hit, and rolling an 8, the blade slashes into the armor of the unyielding High Exemplar, doing damage at dice -6. Rolling a 4, Volkov decides to discard a card to re-roll, and rolls a 10, doing 4 damage to the High Exemplar. Gravis is injured by the attack, but discards a card to re-roll, and he remains standing due to Brother's Keeper. Volkov lashes out at Gravis again, and rolling a 9, the axe strikes true. Rolling an 11 for damage, the blade sinks into the armor of the High Exemplar, doing 5 damage, but Gravis refuses to die and remains standing. An Exemplar Errant walks up and swings his sword at the War Dog, needing a 6 to hit. Rolling a 10, the blade finds its target and the Weapon Master does damage at dice -5. Rolling a 10, the War Dog suffers 5 damage and is knocked down. The Khadoran commander plays the card Beatdown, allowing the chosen model or unit to make an additional attack during an activation that they made a full advance. He chooses the last remaining Kayazy Eliminator. The Eliminator activates and advances up to the Exemplar Errant standing by the stockpile. She stabs it at the Menite, needing a 5 to hit. Rolling a 7, she expertly stabs through the armor of the Exemplar, doing damage at dice -7. Rolling a 3, with anatomical precision, she finds a gap in the armor and the Errant is wounded. The Kayazy assassin leaves the wounded Errant to bleed out and sidesteps over to a wounded Errant and finishes him off with a swift slash of her assassin's blade. Gravis gains a soul. She then sidesteps once again into the back arc of another Errant, and needing a 3, she stabs him in the back with an 11. The blade stabs into the armor, doing damage at dice -7, and rolling a 10, she wounds the Errant. An Exemplar Errant steps towards the Demo Corps leader. He swipes out with his sword, needing a 3 to hit. With a metallic clang, his sword finds the armor of the Khadoran, doing damage at dice -7. Errant discards a card to add a die, and another card to boost the attack. The Weapon Master rolls a 14, doing 7 damage to the hulking Man-O-War. The War Dog activates and forfeits its movement to stand. It then attacks the wounded Errant, killing him, and Gravis gains a soul. Elias Gate activates and attacks the Eliminator with his bayonet, needing a 6 to hit. It discards a card to add a die. Rolling a 9, the short blade stabs into the Kayazy, doing damage at straight dice. Rolling a 7, the blade sinks deep, doing 7 damage and killing the Kayazy. Gade picks the War Dog as his prey target, and then attacks the War Dog with his second bayonet. He needs a 4 to hit, and rolling a 6, the bayonet stabs into the War Dog, doing damage at dice -3. Rolling an 8, the Weapon Master kills the dog, and the War Dog tries to tough out the wound but succumbs to his wounds. The Demo Corps leader activates, and with an icy fury, he swings his maul at the Errant that attacked him. He needs a 5 to hit, and rolling a 9, the maul smashes into the Menite, and rolling for damage, he rolls a 6. The Errant is knocked down, but stands back up due to Brother's Keeper from Gravis. An Exemplar Errant tries to stand back up from his injury, but collapses back down to the ground, still injured. A Demo Corps member advances around the stockpile and with a big overhead swing attacks the Exemplar Errant, needing a 5 to hit. Rolling a 6, the maul cracks into the helmet of the Errant. Rolling a 6 for damage, the Errant falls to the ground, wounded. Menoth scores a point. Menoth draws an extra card from their stockpile. Round 4. Menoth wins priority. An Errant activates first and tries to stand up and shake off his wounds, but collapses and bleeds out. Gravis gains a soul. Volkov activates and swings his great axe at the High Exemplar, needing a 4 to hit. Rolling an 8, the blade cuts into the armor of Gravis, doing damage at dice -4. Rolling another 8, the unyielding Exemplar takes 2 damage. The Exemplar stays standing due to Brother's Keeper. Volkov is determined to slay the High Exemplar for the motherland and slashes with his great axe once again. Rolling a 5, the blade hits the Exemplar, and rolling for damage, he rolls a 6 as the blade fails to pierce the armor of Gravis. Elias Gate activates and moves up to attack the Demo Corps leader. He swings his bayonet at his prey, hitting on anything but double ones. Rolling a 9, the short blade stabs into the armor, doing damage at dice -7. Gade discards a card to boost the attack. Rolling a 19, the blade easily cuts through the armor to the warrior within it, doing 12 damage. The Khadoran discards a card to reroll his injury, but is killed by Elias Gade. The Demo Corps member sees his leader fall and walks up to exact his revenge on the Exemplar warder. He swings his heavy ice maul, needing a 5 to hit. Rolling a 7, the attack hits Elias, doing damage at straight dice. Rolling a 7, Gade is killed, but discards a card to recover from the blow. Brother's Keeper allows him to stand back up. An Exemplar Errant tries to stand up, but succumbs to his wounds and bleeds out. Gravis activates and attacks Volkov with Reverence. The flail flies through the air, needing a 5 to hit. Rolling an 8, the weapon smashes into the Great Bear, doing damage at dice -7. Rolling a 9, the High Exemplar crushes in the armor of the Great Bear. Volkov falls to the ground, wounded. Gravis then spends a soul and attacks the wounded Great Bear, killing him. Menoth scores a point. Round 5. Menoth wins priority.
Elias Gate activates first and thrusts his bayonet into the last remaining Demo Corps member. Rolling an 11, the blade stabs through the armor, doing damage at dice -7. The Exemplar Warder discards a card to add a die and rolls a 17. The Demo Corps member falls to the ground and dies from his wounds. Menoth successfully takes control of the artifact.